It's a massive week for Michael O'Neill and the Northern Ireland team. On Friday night, they're in Kosice to play Slovakia. Then on Monday, back in Belfast to play Luxembourg at Windsor Park. Obviously, the possibility of getting second in that group and qualifying for the playoffs is very much on the line. We expect that they'll be in the playoffs anyway because of the Nations League situation, which is very complicated. So we'll not get into that right now.
Don't even go there and try to explain that because I haven't got a notion. So I'm delighted you're leaving that.
Well, I think the thing to talk about is the game with Slovakia, because if Northern Ireland can win that or even get a draw and then beat Luxembourg, they will finish second in the group. And the chances are that will mean that they will be in a better position to get a better draw in the playoffs. And that's the aim at this stage. But there's big decisions for Michael O'Neill to make because he's going to be without Brodie Spencer, as we know. Then the midfield duo of Ali McCann and Shea Charles. And then on top of that, Ethan Galbraith is suspended. So, David, how would you approach this if you were Michael O'Neill? He's got lots of different options. He's had a very settled team over the last year. But now he's faced with a situation where he has to pick a very different team. Justin Devaney's played left wing back. Do you see him coming into the centre to play alongside George Saville, or do you leave Justin where he is and do you bring in, let's say, Brad Lyons to play with George Saville? There's a lot of options there.
There's lots of permutations. I think what we need to do going into the game is keep our feet well and truly on the ground, Keith, and understand the size of the task that's ahead of us. And put it in the context. We're coming off the back of a wonderful weekend. Thinking we should have beaten Germany. Why do we at least not get a draw against Germany? And haven't had the result previously against Slovakia. So we're in a good place. But I think we've got to now switch a little bit and think we're going to a Slovakian team who their last home match was against Germany, which they won. Mm-hmm. They have the return of our friend.
There's Hanko and Labotka. The left back from Atletico Madrid, and then Labotka is the centre midfielder at Napoli, who is a class act.
So you've got those players returning, and you've got a team who, in their last home game, they beat Germany. So they're going to be saying, listen, while we didn't enjoy the best of form away from home, we beat Germany here the last time. We should be beating Northern Ireland. So that is the size of the task. It's absolutely massive. Don't anybody understate that. I think the fact that Michael is missing the number of players that he is through injury, and obviously Ethan Galbraith through suspension, is a real blow. It couldn't have come at a worse time, and yet Michael, being Michael, always talks about injuries or suspensions will give opportunities to others, that in times of difficulty and adversity those opportunities could lead to the beginning of a new international career for another player. So Michael's being very positive. I listened to an interview from Josh McGuinness. He's equally being positive about how we go forward. We can go on all day about who should play where, what options that does Michael have. Here's some of the key things with Michael. Michael's very much about, the level of the players are playing at. He also doesn't like to disrupt his team too much. One of the examples we talked about before we came in was even playing the likes of Trey Hume at left back to accommodate Devaney going in, and we could go on to we're blue in the face. I think Michael will want to make as few as changes that he can possibly make. He will look for that stability. He will look for the experience that's there. This is not one of those times when it's a tryout time. And I think he will, again, obviously a big part of his thinking will be, what players do I have available? What level are they playing at? Are they playing at this moment in time? And that will then decide who he plays where.
Yeah, I suspect you're right. I think that one thing that is very interesting is that Jamal Lewis has been called up, obviously a left back. He wasn't in the original squad. He's played a couple of games for Preston and done well by all accounts. Is he somebody that could come straight in at left wing back, or would you be wary of that, bearing in mind how little football he's played this
year? First of all, in terms of Jamal, I'm delighted to see that he's back in the international squad. That's first class. when he went on his trek to, I think it was Brazil,
Sao Paulo.
Yeah, we
didn't really work out.
It didn't work out, and we sort of, prior to to it not working out, we sort of said, things weren't really happening for him at Norwich. He decided to go out there. That was a very brave decision. Could this reignite his career? Obviously, it didn't. Then he came back. He was unattached. I think he's maybe had 3 games for Preston thus far. I think he started 1. So there's maybe not a lot of legs in the tank, so to speak. But the fact that Michael has brought him back in, there is a purpose behind that. One is, I think, is maybe to lift his profile again, to say, listen, he's still being considered as to be good enough in and around the international team. Will Michael put him in from the start? I wouldn't have thought so, but no, Michael, he is plan A, plan B, and plan C, and should he need to, to switch things about, then, I would think that he's not bringing Jamal in just for the ride.
Yeah. I mean, another big question is Ethan Galbraith is out, which is a real shame because he's been so good. He's like a player reborn in that attacking midfield role alongside Isaac Price. Options are Jamie Donnelly could come in, but I think Paul Smith might be somebody that you'd like to see get a start, David.
I would like to see Paul Smith, back in again. Paul has been faithful and loyal to his country, always turning up, always making himself available. Any of the times that he has come on, he is impacted. He has never sulked. His attitude has been very much about the team. So, I would love to see Paul get that start. To lose Ethan is a mighty blow, and who would have thought we would have been saying that 18 months ago, 2 years ago? What incredible amount of credit you've got to give to Ethan and how he has reinvented, recalibrated himself, from the disappointment after leaving Manchester United. He has done tremendously well. But no, this is certainly an opportunity for someone to go in and grab. And I would love to see Paul Smith in and around there, because he may be small in stature, but he's feisty. He is a massive heart, Keith, and he has that pace, he has that technical ability, and he is playing regularly. And I think I would love to see him in there.
Up front, the number 9 position for Northern Ireland it's one that if many other positions are settled, this one feels as up in the air as it did a year ago or 2 years ago. 4 options. Cal Marshall has got some game time in the Premier League, which is great to see. You've also Jamie Reid, who maybe didn't have a great game against Germany. Shea Charles, who's back and has scored a few goals now for Huddersfield Town, comes an option, or Josh McGuinness, who is beloved by the Northern Ireland fans. For this game away to Slovakia, which one of those 4 would you be?
I'd probably be looking at Shea Charles, to tell you the truth.
He was back scoring goals, which is a nice thing.
Yeah, he's back playing regularly. We talked about the various criteria which Michael has for himself in terms of the decision making, and one is obviously, is he playing regularly, and then he looks at the level. Callum Marshall, certainly yes, but it's been bit part. Josh can make that impact. I think that to have him about is important. Jamie Reid had a difficult time last time out. There was a couple of opportunities there which could have and maybe should have been taken and didn't. So I think we would be very much going for Dion on this occasion. I wouldn't say that he'll last the 90 minutes. I think Michael will maybe look to bring Josh on, at some stage, or maybe Callum, but it would be Dion who I would be putting my money on in the first instance.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Dion starts, and then if you're going well and you need to shore things up, Josh maybe comes on. If you're searching for a goal, maybe that's when you bring Callum on, and you look to nick a goal somewhere.
And those are exactly the options which Michael go on. I'm sitting laughing here. The two of us here are waxing lyrical about what Michael should or shouldn't do, and we could be a million miles away. But those are, to be honest, those are pretty straightforward and obvious alternatives. And obviously, Michael has considered all of that.
Do you have a prediction for Friday night? It's going to be a much more difficult game than what we faced in Belfast against Slovakia.
I would love a 1 each, to tell you the truth. We came away with that. I would be more than pleased if we could sneak a 2-1. But it's a big ask, Keith. With as I say, going back to what I said at the very top of this, Slovakia beat Germany last time at home. They will have that fresh in their memory. The returning of 2 of their outstanding players. We're losing 4 from the last game against Germany. So there's a lot there. So I would be happy enough if we get a draw and beat Luxembourg.
I think that would be magnificent. I mean, the playoffs are very complicated, but realistically, we are going to be in them unless crazy results happen in other groups. So that pressure is almost off the shoulders. But we want to be as high ranked as possible. You want to get as kind a draw as possible. So getting those 4 points and finishing above Slovakia is massive. Slovakia is a really tough challenge, though.
Let me finish with this: that there is no way Michael O'Neill will be going just to rely on what happens elsewhere or for the draw. He will be demanding that his young players, whoever they are, that whoever he chooses, that they go out and they aim to get the 3 points, that they aim for victory, and we go forward in hope